All right. Hello, everybody. And hello, Nathalie Marie. We are excited.
Hello, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So we thought we'd come on and just kind of share some, I don't know, just kind of get together and be casual and talk about Star Code Alchemy. We've had some questions about how did you get started? What is the meaning behind Star Code Alchemy? So we wanted just to kind of get together and give you some answers and just to kind of shoot the breeze, as we love to do. So how do you want to kick this off, Miss Nancy?
Well, thank you, Barbara, for putting this together because we have heard so many times. Come on, girls, it would be a good time for you to be out there and start answering some questions. And so today's the day, and thank you for making the time because we are everybody's has a very heavy schedule. So, um, well, let's just start with this. Uh, two sea stars originally. So we're going to call them the sisters of the stars. And before we can even start using this terminology, it started that two very different background friends joining and going through an awakening. So I can only start for me, but back in 2011, the end of 2011, 2012, this is where everything changed. Um, and because of it, I was actually craving for a location. I needed to be with a group of people that was very, very open-minded and pretty much part of the woo-hoo or woo-woo or whatever the description is. And it is, it's a phase that everybody has to go through. It's a aha moment. And I'm so grateful that back in the days, I think it was about 2015 when you and I met at a meditation group. And that was, I would say, the catalyst to start asking a lot of questions about what happens, what's the inner journey, and what's the shift within, and what else is there out there that we don't talk about? What do we really have to be joining a group on a particular day, particular time? Yeah, just the whole process. Looking back, it's it's totally meant to be. There's no coincidence, but that's where our relationship and where everything started um between you and I, really. What what's your take on that?
Yeah, it was, I think back, it's been 2014, I think, because I remember that was when we came back to Arizona. Um, I've always lived in Arizona for many years, let's just say, and moved away for a little while, came back, and then just found this meetup group, and it was a meditation group, local, and it was in Glendale, so it was just really right down the road for me, and just an interesting group of people that opened my eyes to what I kind of always had thought there was something different and beyond, but um, to hear it from different people and different messengers and to get to meet you and some of the others there, it's like, okay, we've been around the block more than once. And it was fun to connect. And really, when we think about that connection has forged, gosh, I mean, we've had so many experiences and created really fun memories together. I think about even before we created Star Code Alchemy and siSTAR Code Alchemy, we were doing essential oil blending, back in 2015, 2016, and playing with essential oils and energy work and Reiki and all heart math. I mean, so our path has really been one of supporting each other and learning all these new things. So, yeah, how Star Code Alchemy came about is a whole nother story. So, I have a question for you though. When, so, so tell us about how you ended up in the U.S. because you are, I know you always ask this. It's like, guess where I'm from. So how would you answer that question? Tell us about a little bit about your origins and how you ended up in Arizona, actually. Where did you start?
Yeah, well, try to make a long story short, but the my journey. So I'm from France. I'm from Paris. Um, this is part of where my other home is. Even though today my family has actually moved away from Paris and actually gone to the south of France. A lot easier to live and less chaos, I guess, if we follow the news and everything else today. But um my journey started that at the age of 2. I received my first Reiki. And my parents didn't know what that was. They were going on vacation, and I was I was inconsolable, and I was complaining from the stomach pain, I guess. And eventually, they were traveling. They went camping, and they were renting a small home in the middle of nowhere in France. And they stopped at one of the farms to grab some food. And one of the people there said, "Oh, you need to go and see Mrs. I don't remember the name." But they did say, if you go and see her, she does this miracle with her hands. And I mean, again, no coincidence. They went that day. I think it was a Sunday. So this lady opened the doors and put her hands for 20 minutes on my belly, and here I was apparently stopped screaming and making everybody's life like you know, a situation. We have a situation over here. But eventually it got better. I guess that the rest of the vacation were good, but I know this was my first introduction to Reiki. My parents didn't know anything about it, and when they told me um, that this lady that they didn't know in the middle of nowhere was able to help you and heal you for that moment, um, we started to talk about it, and my parents are not particularly into the Reiki or energy in that way, but they were very yeah, very stunned. My mom very is very open. She's a very spiritual lady from Italian origins, and my father is an atheist. So that was another another situation. But in terms of sharing and opening up to what is out there, the other worlds, the other dimensions, which you and I can talk about a lot, but a lot of people find it very difficult to, I guess, to comprehend or to even want to believe in. Um, but here's my journey. So from Paris, once I was old enough to leave home, and I finished my baccalaureate, and I actually went to England, and I lived in Brighton, England, for 17 some years before moving to the US. So the reason I came to the US was because at the time, I married an Englishman, and we both worked for an American company that brought us over here, over to the US. And life continued. The only thing is, for the first few months when we arrived, I was pregnant with my second child, my son, and I was a home mom for many years. And gradually, when it was time to think about, hey, it's gonna be time to go back to work, I could not get the idea of going back into corporate, sitting at the desk, somewhat just serving for something that I particularly did not believe in, I guess, or something that didn't feed my soul, something that didn't allow for my heart to expand. Um, which was a bit of a conflict with my husband at the time, not understanding, but I wanted the entrepreneur idea and the feel that we can create pretty much what we want, creating our reality. I just wanted to be the one and say, hey, it would be good to learn new skills and becoming a Reiki master, learning hypnotherapy and doing and so on. So this was the time before you and I knew each other. And yeah, and then for me, so that's my story basically. I literally started my journey as a, entrepreneurship back in 2013.
It's quite a journey to have you here. And one of the things that I think people find really interesting about us as a friendship is when we learned something about each other that was really interesting is that we share the same birthday. I just
We
think that's
do.
so fun. And so the idea that, and I think this is just maybe my perspective, but I remember we were saying, oh, we have the same birthday, so we're going to be really, really similar. And we're have all these, because you think a sun sign back in the day, I used to think was very similar, that everybody who shared that would have similar qualities. And I think we've learned over the years that we're really very different. And that's the cool part is that we have a really great friend of ours, Miss Shana Eva, who does astrology. And she's certainly opened my eyes to the differences between, your rising and the moon and all these different impacts and different influences that we have. And I think that's been fun over the years, getting to know you even more and kind of walking the journey with you. It's been really fun to see how our differences really complement our friendship and how we're growing. And I certainly learned a ton from you, and I'm grateful for that. Absolutely. But it is one of our fun facts that we do share the same birthday. So that was one of our questions actually that we had from our customers. Tell us a fun fact, and that's it.
It is. Well, thank you. And the reason really I'm here today is because you, Bob, has been the catalyst, but you've been the best coach and mentor. And you dragged me as soon as I dragged me in a good way. Like, no, come on. No, it was in a good way. You kicked my butt by saying, okay, well, now you've learned all these new skills. So I just wanted to share that since 2014 and it started, I certified as a heart math coach. And Bob was one of the master teachers at the time. And being a friend too, you were able uh, to motivate me to put everything in practice, everything that we learn. And that was a great gift for me to have that because you pushed my confidence. Natalie, you don't know, but today you're going to do a presentation, and we have we have this and this happening next week. So come on, just let's get your presentation ready, and off we go. And but that was a beautiful gift, and I I can only be grateful for that and everything. The reason I'm able to speak even about everything that I learned this last 5, 7 years, really, um, it's because you have been the motivator, the catalyst, and everything else. So thank you. I'm very grateful. Um, and then later on too, I decided to go on and certify as a hot math trainer too. Come on, we've got bigger events and so yeah, I mean you were there and we're very, very different. And yet we have so much in common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the heart is kind of what I think brought us together, which is really fun because as I've said before, I
Yeah.
think you're one of the most heartful people that I've met. And the reason I think why I became a heart math trainer was because I really needed to heal the heart. There's all these, coming from a nursing background and military background, it was, yeah, something that I kind of suppressed over the years. And so the fact that I was in a heart math class at the Mayo Clinic, I just sat there and just rolled my eyes the whole time thinking, I don't even need to know this. I'm a cardiac nurse, for heaven's sakes. I mean, I know this stuff. So it's knowing it and yet implementing it. And part of the heart math practices that we teach and what we speak a lot about is, focusing on the heart. Why do we focus on the heart area? Well, it sends a lot more information up to the brain, and much more so than the brain to the heart. And I remember first hearing that, and I thought, well, that doesn't even make sense because the brain controls everything, and the brain is the master computer. And what I realized, not just through the training, but watching people around me really come from a heart place, um, was really another great mentor for me as well. And so I think that's the beauty of life is we surround ourselves with teachers and with mentors and as reflections of who we are to really up level ourselves and to really come into that, um, like that next version of ourselves that's even better than the one before with no judgment, but just to say, how can I tweak it? How can I make it even better so that when I leave this place, I can, look back and go, yeah, I actually did a huge shift from previous lifetime, if we believe in that, to which I do, to this lifetime. And then looking for the future. What is that heart-centered future? So I think that's the chemistry and the alchemy that we have between us is really, really cool. And I think I want to just do a shout out for Team Light because Rion de Rouen and Shana Eva are again great mentors. So when you talk about me being a mentor, like someone that kicks butt, well, I've also had my butt and in a way of up leveling to say I'm doing the best I can. And sometimes we can get very I can get very lackadaisical, like, oh, I'm just gonna just it's good enough. And then to have somebody reflect back and say, is it really somebody that can see your soul and that can see your all the possibilities that you have to kind of go, oh, just one more course correction, all of a sudden now we're shining even brighter, which I think is so cool because that I think brings us to Star Code Alchemy because one of those team light pyramids was to me one of the main things that brought Star Code Alchemy to being. So do you remember when I first got that Team Light Pyramid in the house and what that was like when you kind of walked in and it's been a while.
Oh, it was a room, room. And to actually first time ever that I sat underneath it, we both started. I think we both thought of the same. Now, wow, what can you create when you go under there? Not only by just doing a meditation, but to meditate under that. That was which, as you would say, your word like up level, that upgraded as well our way of meditating. And we felt it. This is what we were able to feel. But before we go on and continue with the pyramid, this is my time to ask, uh, what brought you to becoming a nurse? What was your journey to your whole nursing career until you decided to change? Because at once a nurse, always a nurse, I guess. But what's your journey?
Sure. Wow. It's funny because I was talking to somebody just a few days ago about that, at age 8, we know what we want to be. And I said, you know what? It's exactly at age 8 that I knew that I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to help people. I was always caring for animals and I couldn't be a veterinarian though, because I knew that would break my heart. So I thought, because it's hard to see animals that are hurt, but I somehow have the wherewithal to work with people. But it's always been caring. My mom, I think, as I learned later on, she wanted to be a nurse or in the medical field when she went to college back in the day, which was back in the 1940s, maybe 50s, which is for a woman, kind of a cool pioneer thing to do. But she always wanted to be something in the medical field. And so I remember I had maybe it was a download from her or what was in the imprinted in me in my blueprint, but I always knew that I wanted to be a nurse. And I had a couple of surgeries when I was a kid. I had my tonsils out when I was 4, had my appendix out when I was 11. And I love hospitals. Just thought it was the coolest thing because these nurses would just come out of nowhere and then would just take care of you and hold your hand and be like, it's okay. And I thought, I want to do that for people. So to me, it was almost like an angelic being that would come in to take care of you. And that just always resonated with me. So I went to nursing school in Chicago and then joined the Air Force right after and became an Air Force nurse and did that for quite a while until I decided that I could serve in other ways. So, but you're right though, once a nurse, always a nurse. It's always still in there, like that feeling of wanting to help. And now I've learned boundaries where it's not just that I have to give my soul and give everything to everyone, because that didn't really work for me. I got really tired. I got into something called overcare where I just was so burned out that I didn't realize I could set a boundary and say, I have to take care of me first. So I've learned that probably over the last 15 years or so is, it's a beautiful profession. And at this point, I don't feel like maybe this is years ago, but I was never taught to take care of me. And so that was my one deficit that I see with the healthcare profession and anybody that first responders or, military who gives so deeply to other people. So important to take care of ourselves before we burn out and we end up in trouble. So,
And also you coach today either veterans or people who are still serving, in the military. But do you want to tell us a little bit more, or a little bit about your military background?
yeah. So my military background, wow. So it was always, since my dad was in the military. So both of my parents were immigrants from Poland, and my dad was a army captain. So I think that was in my DNA too, is the service. And I always heard this growing up is, freedom is not free. And they came from a communist country. And so they said, we are so grateful to be here and so grateful to give you a better life. So that was always infused that we give back. Don't take freedom for granted. And so when I was in college, I said, well, I'm going to join the Air Force. And so he was thrilled. Um, and I think ever since then, married a guy in the military and he retired. Um, it's just been interesting. And he retired again. I'm going to say this broadly that he didn't learn how to take care of himself either. I'm going to say because he burned out. He gave so much of his heart to everybody that now, and I couldn't, let's just say I couldn't fix him. I couldn't save him. He passed away. And to me now, helping veterans who are ready to hear the message of take care of you. Why is there chronic pain? Why is there post-traumatic stress? Having a lens to see them through with compassion and no expectation. I just love that part of my life is to really be able to meet people where they are, the big strong warriors that are just, underneath is just a big teddy bear and someone who has gone through some really big traumas and to be able to see them and to support them and to give them some tools where they can feel better, they can take care of themselves, they can regulate their nervous system, and then create a very different life for themselves. So I think one thing I do see with the veterans is once you're out of the military, there's that transition point where now who am I? And that's what my husband struggled with was I don't have an identity because I was a military, I was a paramedic for 20 years. I don't know what to do now. So I love to be that bridge between is to say the past doesn't equal the future. And so that's kind of what my joy is working with these guys and girls,
Mm.
whether active duty or preparing for transition or for retirement, to give them that vision of who are you going to be when like I say, when you grow up, but when you are out of the military, create the identity because you're much more than just your job. Job is
Right.
important, but your spirit, how do you reconnect with the spirit? So that's fun for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it's very inspiring, anyways. I think it's a beautiful journey to explain. And it's also a great validation for people who have gone through what you have gone through and also what people are doing today. And to know that they can be in presence of someone and relate. And you can relate definitely on trauma level and or should I say traumas. So that's yeah, that's just a great presence and for you to hold space for everyone. Um, so yeah,
It's fun how we go through, but I
yeah.
think too, like
And you
everything we've all been through, we we go through it we learn from it, we, I don't know, heal through it. And then we can be on the other side to go, wow, I totally get you. People, especially when they're in the darkest times where they're like, man, I just want to go. I want to leave the planet. I'm like, I get it. And you're like, really? Yeah, to have gone through the depths of hardship and darkness and to come out of it on the other side and go, wow, because if we don't acknowledge it, sometimes we feel alone. And I think I wanted to ask you about this too, is the idea about feeling so isolated like some of us do, especially when we go through our own journeys. But then we start to see, like when we're talking about in that meditation group, it can be very isolating to, learn some things and new things and then have nobody to talk to, whether you're a veteran or whether you're I don't know, a stay-at-home mom or a nurse or whoever, that's watching this right now. Thank you for doing that, for watching us. Is it sometimes can feel very isolating. Like I don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have a family. I have no one to share my ideas with or to bounce things off of. So would you be willing to share a little bit about what that journey was like for you as well, in your awakening process? What was that like for you to find community and um, now be a beacon or a pillar of light that others are now coming to?
Oh, but thank you. Yeah, we go through something very, we feel at the time when we're going through that it's a natural state. And we all know more or less that we are pretty much alone, right? We come here alone, we leave alone, but we don't actually. So being alone is one thing. It's to be misunderstood, I think. It's the major thing. So I can't say that feeling alone was a difficult thing because I've always been a meditator and I also was exposed to there's more to what we are aware in this reality. The consciousness right now, it's part of who we are and it's a version of us. And I always had somewhat this reality that it's the now, but there's something else too. And consciousness was always I'm not going to say a subject for me to target, but I always question things like, why is there so much that we don't know? Right? So I would find a lot of answers from a young age, um, in terms of, what am I? What am I here to do? What can I go and do and enjoy? Who can I meet today? So the loneliness started a little bit further. Well, not the loneliness, I would say the misunderstanding. So when you have a family and you're open to receive and to give, but to be this mind that is connected. And I'm going to say, when I say mind, I'm going to say like the crown chakra, really, this connection that we have and the connection to souls, the connection to whatever we want to call it, connection to God, Jesus, Mary, the universe, right? It's it's all the same thing to me, but I knew from a young age too that there was a lot more than what we see with the physical eyes. I saw things that I didn't like. I saw people smiling and saying, "Hey, coming over. Hey, do you want this?" Or it felt like I don't know who you are, but what I see, it's not attractive and it's not something, it's not authentic for a start, and it's not from a young age. And I'm sure um, I do believe that a lot of children are very uh, empathic. And then depending on what life gives you as you grow up, I guess, and your background and the people you're surrounded with, whether this gets amplified or it gets completely restricted and you have to shut it down. But um the journey, it's about the sadness, I would say, by feeling like it feels a little alone. It's more the misunderstanding because all of a sudden, once you start speaking your truth, people will say, um, are you are you okay? Is there something wrong? Do you need to go and talk to somebody? And um, and it's frustrating, and then it makes you stronger for sure. But the spirituality has a big key in terms of knowing who you are and recalling what you're here to do. We if we don't feel that connection, then we spin into this wheel that says, what am I doing? What am I doing this? What's the point? What's the point to communicate with people? What's the point to decorate a room? What's the point? Because we have, and I know I'm going to use like the cliche word, but we have a mission. And we're not here to do things just randomly because there's a reason in everything that we're going to be saying, doing, feeling, sharing, because of the connection that we have. So, and in 2011, I was very, from a young age, I've always felt and spoken to the angels. I didn't really know, never questioned what they look like, but the certain things and effects and events in my life that made me feel like, wow, I could have been literally, I could have disappeared, or I could have been gone forever, or I could have got really hurt. And there's an extra force that makes you believe that, and yet it did not happen. And this is an awareness of, we're going to say almost like a protective uh, presence, you know? But there's something that happened to me in 2011, and I would say this was the big the big kaboom. I like that word, kaboom. But when 2011, in this house where or here, I was going to say here in Glendale, I welcomed an energy. And when I say welcome, is because I wanted it. I wanted more of it. I didn't expect it. And it was an evening, my husband sleeping, the were in bed. And I want to say it was between 11:30 midnight, something like that. Um, and the house was quiet. Everybody was sleeping. I was the only one awake. And I was reading a book. And I remember I had a phase in my life that I would read a lot every day. Um, and an orb, a golden orb, which looked like plasma, the size of a tennis ball, that literally came through the window of my bedroom, and it literally caught and got my attention straight away. And this golden orb just traveled all the way from the window all the way to where I was, and it was traveling very slowly. Um, and from that moment, as we say, no time and space, everything was in slow motion, different feeling. It felt almost like a different reality because I knew I wasn't dreaming, but I did say to myself, am I dreaming? And I knew I wasn't. And then all of a sudden, the communication happened to say, everything's okay. I didn't know that anything was not going to be okay, but everything was okay. And I wasn't sure what that meant. There was also a picture that said, hey, everything's okay. And this beautiful uh, golden orb just traveled and came between myself and the book to really be right in front of my face to say, you see me and everything's okay. There was also some other communication, but I don't remember the exact word. It's more like a feeling. And I was trying to wake up my husband at the time on my left to say, hey, wake up. But I didn't want to get my eyes off it because I thought it was going to disappear, and it didn't. My husband never woke up, even though it was literally pushing hard, but this golden orb just traveled well apart, literally well above him, and left the room through the door. And I was like, no, wait, come back. And that was basically and from so I need to finish my sentence, but this was the first thing that made me realize that we are so much more than we've ever been told, and we know nothing about this reality, the 4D, the 5D, all the other dimensions, and the timeline that also that we live in. Um, yeah, anyway, it's a long letter word. I like words, but but the realization back then, it was, I knew I was never alone, but also, would anybody now, from that point on, would anybody understand me or call me crazy? Um, it didn't matter, because the feeling of knowing what we experience, and similar to what you would say, Bob, you would say, well, I believe that you believe. And it's true. I totally believed that experience, but it was the catalyst of everything that came after that. Um, and I know that it's also the reason why after this, I was so thirsty for answers, but I was not, at that point, I was just looking for knowledge. So I grabbed more books and I started reading. I continued in my Reiki, and then the meeting group, which is literally just, yeah, around the corner from here, just 2 blocks away. Um, After that, this is when you and I met. Um, but meeting these people was not a coincidence, even though one day I just decided, oh, you know what, I'm going to try this meditation group, and that was the beginning of a rebirth, somewhat. Yeah.
It's an amazing story. I mean, I love that because you're in it and you're having the experience of it. And so for anybody that's watching that may have had something similar that you're like, wow, I just don't know, I can't put words to it. Or maybe I mean, a lot of times I work with clients at a local spa and they come in with questions and they're like, I don't know, I feel like I'm at a crossroads. I've had this maybe an experience kind of similar to what you're saying, when they just can't make sense of it. And nobody around them really understands it. And they're like, I don't know, am I crazy? And I'm like, no. And I love when clients say this to me. They're like, this may sound weird. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be a great
Mhm.
question. Because that's the idea,
Right.
is really
Try me.
validating. Yeah, and say to bring it on, and you're not crazy. And this world, if anything, is set up where it's such a matrixy, awesome, challenging school to really help us to, it's so thick and it can be so dense and there's so many lessons and challenges and things. But when we, like you were saying, looking at it from another dimension, is like, what if we hired all of these things? We brought everybody in, we have it in a contract or a blueprint to say, I want to learn. And so we're going to set up these opportunities, the orb to come in, the situation with whoever, maybe there's a loss, because sometimes that wakes us up, or maybe there's
Right.
a pet. Who knows? It could be such heartbreak. But through that, we really wake up and go, we would start to question. I always say question everything, because that's how we grow. And the place of curiosity and not judgment. Um, is just a fun place to play and to say, well, what have you learned? What's your experience? And when we get to help each other and support each other. And I love this because we're creating a space like they did with the meditation group, which is still ongoing, which is so cool. And now we've kind of done our own thing and we're meeting other new people, and we're meeting people through Star Code Alchemy at conferences and expos. And oh my gosh, I mean, just all the cool people that we've had a chance to meet and learn from. It's been a really cool mission to be with you on. Absolutely.
Yeah, but thank you. Same here. And then through through the journey of growing, right? It's the mission. There's a mission at the end of the tunnel, somewhat we could say, but the tunnel keeps on going and the light gets brighter and brighter because the mission gets clearer and clearer. And the fact that you and I started to meditate under the pyramid, so yeah, you got this pyramid from uh, Rion de Rouen in Sedona or Team Light, and that was again another big gate opening to say, and now you can create.
Yeah.
And it is about allowing for creation, receiving some information, receiving some downloads, and start creating. And it's the beginning of the mission, really, to be to assist, to be in service to others, and without forgetting the own journey, and also at the same time to have fun with it. This is the idea. We don't know how long we're here for, but how much fun can we have? And we are beings of creation. We are very, very creative. So we need to be creative and meet the right people and to share it with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's those who are, I think we've learned so much along the way too. It's just so it's been a really interesting ride. So, you know what I'm thinking is what if we wrap this for now and we'll just have a couple closing words and then we'll come back next time with some Q&A because people have been asking us questions about, well, give us the intricacies. We just wanted to be with you all and just share with you the basics of who we are. It's almost like a behind the veil of Star Code Alchemy. So we wanted to have you get to know us a little bit more, kind of know where our hearts are. And then next time we will be back for our next episode. We'll talk a little bit more about Star Code Alchemy and some of the um, and we're not going to tell you everything because otherwise that's proprietary and we can't share all of our secrets. But the idea about what goes into our blends, what are some of our favorite blends. So we're going to go through a Q&A in just a little while when we come back next time. But let's do this. Nat, do you have any final words for anybody who's watching us right now? Any I don't know, any words of wisdom or anything that you'd like to share? And then I'll close this up. But what would you like to share with our viewers right now?
Well, I'm gonna say your inner world creates your outer world. And think about this, and this was a big thing for me back in the days. You can't give something that you don't have. So if you take care of you, you can actually be available for everybody else. So it sounds very simple, but very often we're so busy, life is rush it, and sometimes we forget to just be human. So to keep and nurturing the human touch, the human approach, and also just say, hey, I matter, and to prioritize yourself.
Good, good
That's me.
inspiration for sure. I love that. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think what I
thank
would
you.
say. Gosh, I mean, to
Yeah.
me, it's stay true to you because there's so much chatter and so much, especially now in the world. There's all these things that we're in this awesome time to be alive. And there's a lot of external forces saying sometimes you should or you need to. To me, that's become such it's almost like it's when I hear that, I go, I don't think so. So tuning into the heart and the voice that you have inside of you is so much more important. And that's one of my biggest gifts and my biggest joys is to help people to tune into their heart wisdom. So when you get um, confused or worried or anxious about what's going on, man, my first thing is just drop in the heart, take a slow deep breath. And actually let's do that together because this is one of our
Okay.
favorite heart math techniques and actually
Yeah.
we'll show you what we're talking about. So I'm going to invite you to just focus your attention in the area of the heart and just imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart, your chest area. And just breathing a little slower, a little deeper than usual. And if at any point your mind gets in the way or you have some thoughts, which you're going to have, that's normal. Just gently bring your attention back to the heart and back to your breath. And just find whatever rhythm works for you. It could be 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. If that's not quite the pace that works for you, find whatever rhythm works for you. And let's do that together for about 3 or 4 slow, deep breaths. And as you continue this heart-focused breathing, I'm going to invite you to just imagine something, someone, somewhere that you really appreciate, that you care about, something that you're grateful for. And just imagine now that you're almost time traveling to that place, you're with that person, and with all of your senses, you're re-experiencing that memory. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? And now re-feel that feeling. Could be gratitude. It could be a sense of calm, a sense of peace. Whatever works for you, you are the architect of your experience. And as you're re-feeling that feeling, know that, and share this with a lot of my clients, is you cannot do this wrong. Play with this, experience this, be curious about what really helps you to come to this grateful place. And you can continue this process, eyes open, eyes closed, whatever feels good to you. And just know that just by feeling that feeling, you've just dosed yourself with 1,400 biochemicals, including oxytocin, DHEA, which is a vitality hormone. It gives you more energy. You've just told your brain to produce these biochemicals that will support you. So that's the hack. That's the biohack, that anytime you can access this feeling, it only takes maybe a minute or two. And just notice what's different in your body, in your mind, in your emotions. Do you notice a shift? Because what we know from heart math research, and we are both heart math trainers and coaches, so we really share this with a lot of our clients, is you can choose to pause in the midst of pressure, in the midst of a worry, in the midst of an anxiety moment, to go, oh, I don't know what to do right now. Touching yourself, putting a hand on the heart if you choose. With practice, you won't even need to do anything. You'll just be able to do it automatically. This will shift your state. This will also give you freedom and a place of choice where you're not reacting to that situation. You get to be in full choice to go, in this moment, I choose to respond. So that's my gift to you guys. And it's been tried and true. I tell you, I used to roll my eyes with this. I'm like, this is so simple. How can this work? It works. It is science validated. If you're interested in more, go to the heartmath.com or heartmath.org website to learn more about heart math. And it might be a game changer for you.
Right.
Thanks for
Well,
doing
thank
that with
you
me.
for this beautiful, beautiful practice. Yeah, brings me all the way back, and it's so empowering and so powerful. So thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome. Well, thank you all. Thank you for being with me, Nat. I appreciate your time. I know you're busy as
thank
well.
you. Yeah.
And thanks to all who are watching. We appreciate you. And we will be back next time to talk a little bit more about Star Code Alchemy. So until then, take good care, be well, and we'll see you next time.
All the best. Bye.